My broken oven got replaced finally, so let's bake something. Hi everyone, it's Tasha and welcome to another Wednesday recipe video. And today we are going to be making a super easy spiced tea bread. Timestamps are down below in the description if you want to skip the initial blah blah, but stick around if you want to hear a little bit about what we're making first. Now this isn't a bread, we're not using any yeast for this. We're not doing any kneading or any proofing or any rising. We're just mixing everything together in a bowl and bunging it in a cake tin. It's more cake than bread, but also more bread than cake. I suppose you could call it a quick bread. And there's no oil or butter in the actual mixture itself either. There is one thing you're going to need a lot of though, and that is tea. And you're going to need a good strong one. Black tea is the best, think English breakfast. My favourite type of tea to use in this recipe though is a smoked tea. We're talking Lapsang Souchong or Russian Caravan. I used to love Russian Caravan and it was everywhere and for some reason I can't find it anymore. Same with Lapsang Souchong. I know it sounds really fancy, it's not really. Again, used to be everywhere and now only 1 or 2 shops sells it. Why did it suddenly get really dark? But I managed to track some down for this. You can use any tea though, like I said, English breakfast works fine, your everyday normal tea. Earl Grey works, even fruit teas work, but I would recommend a strong black tea because it complements the spices super well. I would say if you use a fruit tea, instead of using spices, use vanilla. But then it wouldn't be a spiced tea bread. So with all that said, let's go to the kitchen and see how it's done. We're starting this recipe the night before, but don't panic, it is very easy. Here we have 370 grams of mixed dried fruit. It's basically a bunch of raisins, sultanas, currants and mixed peel, just all dried up. You can buy them usually in the bakery section in the supermarket. And I'm going to pour in 250 millilitres of freshly brewed hot tea. Now, this is actually Lapsang Souchong, basically a smoked tea, so it has a really smoky scent, it's delicious. I used to use Russian Caravan, similar lines, it was also smoky smoked tea. Can't find that stuff anymore. Actually Lapsang Souchong, I can't pronounce it, so try saying it a load of times, Lapsang Souchong. Actually, it's more smoked than Russian Caravan, so it's actually even better for this recipe. So I'm going to pour it straight in. Going to give it a little mix. I'm just going to make them semi-submerged, doesn't matter if they're not completely submerged. And I'm literally just going to cover this with cling film and let it soak overnight. So I'll see you in the morning. The next day when we're ready to bake, we're going to preheat the oven to 170 degrees C. And over here I've just lined a regular loaf tin with some baking paper. What I did was I put a little bit of oil down first so it sticks, and then I cut 2 strips of baking paper so it pretty much almost lines the whole thing, and that's all you need to do. And now we're going to deal with the dry ingredients first. Here I have 250 grams of self-raising flour, and I'm also going to add a teaspoonful of baking powder to that, just to give it an extra lift. Look at me always creating a mess. I'm also going to add 125 grams of dark soft brown sugar. I find it's a little bit lighter than dark muscovado sugar and it clumps a little bit less. Having said that, this one is a bit clumpy. Doesn't matter if it is. So if you want a bitterer finish, you can use dark muscovado sugar. Or even light muscovado sugar if you only want a light caramel finish. But I find dark soft brown is just right. And we're going to add our spices. Here I have half a teaspoonful of cinnamon, half a teaspoonful of ground ginger, a 1/4 teaspoon of ground cloves, and a 1/4 teaspoonful of ground nutmeg. And I'm also going to add a little pinch of salt too. And I'm just going to give this a rough stir. Don't worry about any small clumps of sugar in there, it's all going to melt into the cake while it bakes because it is going to bake for a long time. If you find a particularly big clump, then just push it to the side of the bowl and give it a smush like that. That breaks it down. Now let's retrieve our soaked dried fruits. As you can see, overnight the fruits have absorbed a lot of that tea and we're going to dump it straight in. And we're also going to add 1 beaten egg to it. And we're going to give it a good stir until it is just combined. Now let's bring over our tin, and we're just going to dollop this straight in. Transferring over to a spatula for the final few bits. And we're going to make sure we flatten it out in our tin, so give it a little squidge down. I'm going to give it a couple of taps on the counter just to knock out any big air bubbles in there. And I'm going to bake this for a whole hour because this is a very dense loaf. If you see the top getting a bit too brown, just lay a bit of kitchen foil over the top, but usually it's fine because we're cooking it at 170 rather than 180, so it's a bit of a cooler oven. So see you in an hour. Cake is done. And we didn't have to cover the top at all, it's perfect. Right, now we need to let it cool down. Still a little bit warm, which is exactly how I like to eat this, so let's rescue this. Very easy with our little contraption. And now I'm going to cut a slice. Beautiful, look at those moist, gooey raisins. I wish you could smell this through the screen. It is so delicious. And look, I've put some salted butter on mine because I really like the combination of sweet and salty. Let's take a little dig. I don't know why, but every time I record this last part there's always either a truck reversing or some kind of alarm going off. Anyway, spiced tea bread. It smells so good with those spices and that smoky tea. A little bit, well, quite a lot of salted butter on top because I like mine with salted butter. You can use unsalted butter or nothing at all. But this is a tea bread after all, so I do quite like to serve it a little warm with butter. You can taste this as well, by the way. Right, I'm going to scoop a little bit of butter on my pre-sliced chunk. Cheers! Trust me, get the Lapsang Souchong even if it's not your usual tea. That smokiness just makes this tea loaf. And there's just enough spice in there to be autumnal, but technically not Christmassy. I'm allowed to say the C word already, it's October already. It's super soft, surprisingly not too dense even though we put a whole load of those dried fruits in. That's because of the extra lift that I got from the baking powder on top of using self-raising flour, which is flour that already has raising agents in it. Lovely. And I have that nice cup of tea that I made for myself as well. Not just for the photo, although I did put it in a pretty teacup. What's tea bread without having it with some tea on the side? So there you go, a super easy spiced tea bread. Thanks for watching, I hope you enjoyed today's recipe video and I hope you'll join me next Wednesday for my next one. Get the full written recipe on my blog tashcakes.com, follow me on Instagram, I'm tashcakes.tastes, and find me on TikTok too, I'm tashcakes there too, but my handle is food in slow motion. Subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see more, give this video a like if you'd like it to help other people find it, comment down below if you'd like me to make anything in particular, and I will see you all next time. Be good, be nice, and have a good week. You can tell that it's not so hot in my flat anymore because I'm not quite as shiny. Still a little bit though.